Of us. Hope everybody's good on this Tune Tuesday. Obviously, recording a little bit early, Monday night. And yeah, let's get right to it. I wanted to do, I kind of avoid doing the 90s sometimes because I save that for my 90s Friday music post. But, I'm not going to let my Tune Tuesday picks suffer just because I do a, 4-tune Friday post too. So I kind of wanted to focus on the trend of like alternative electronic music that happened in the 90s. So let's get to it. First up, the Prodigy. I mean, this record was huge on alternative rock radio, huge on MTV, 1997 album, Fat of the Lamb. Now, they have an album in 92, 94. So this was their third studio album. They were kind of from the rave scene, in Britain. Obviously, an English band, if you ever heard an interview with them. The song Breathe was the first single. It was huge. Come play my game. Down, 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 down. Just huge on rock radio, huge on MTV. And then Smack My Bitch Up and Firestarter were the second and third single. I'm not sure which order that went in, but the song Breathe was definitely the biggest song. But all three were pretty Huge. I remember seeing one of their videos on MTV, and it was like censored part of it, But the Prodigy, definitely a heavier side of the electronic music trend. But yeah, I'm going with the song Breathe if I didn't say so already. Next up, from the same year, you got to go Chemical Brothers. I mean, you have to. 1997's Dig Your Own Hole. Block Rockin' Beats, track 1. This song, again, huge on alternative rock radio, huge on MTV. It was just massive. And I think a lot of these groups came from kind of different scenes. I am going to do some bonus jams and cover every spectrum of these artists that came from this electronic music scene. Prodigy, you can definitely hear why they were on alternative rock radio, even though it's electronic music. I mean, it's very heavy. It just sounds alternative, Chemical Brothers, I think, kind of fit that mark too. A little more commercially viable. You know what I mean? A little less, Prodigy, you'd almost think is like the metal of electronic music, very heavy. Chemical Brothers, I think, are they came, very similar scene, but I think a little more, you could probably, I could picture this on pop radio as well, to some extent, but still, I think very alternative. And you see this trend a lot. Here, let me get to the third pick before I talk your ear off. We're going to go FatBoy Slim. Definitely a little less heavy. We're going to go with the song The Rockefeller Skank from the 1998 album, You've Come a Long Way, Baby. And the song Praise You was huge. Huge on MTV. Huge on radio. I got to praise you like I should. But we're going to do the second single, The Rockefeller Skank. Christopher Walken's in the music video. So I'll probably post that version. And yeah, I mean, definitely less aggressive than the other two. No doubt about it. Next up, Daft Punk. So, no, we don't want the 2001 album. We want the 1997 album. So you know what? I'm actually going to flip that so I can do all my regular picks from 1997. This will be the third pick. FatBoy Slim is going to be the bonus jam. I'm going to do, let's see, do we do Defunk or do we do Around the World? Let's do Around the World. That's the song I remember most. some Three Tune Tuesdays, I bring you underground music that I know none of you, or at least most of you, have ever heard. This week, if you grew up in the 90s and listened to alternative radio and watched MTV at all, you definitely would know most of these songs, if not all of them. These were hits. Some limited to like alternative rock radio, not necessarily pop hits, but definitely some crossover into the pop realm. I think for Daft Punk in particular, and that continued in the 2000s. I mean, you hear Daft Punk on the song Stronger from Kanye West. They're doing the, faster, stronger, they're doing that part. They produced it. I'm not sure if he sampled it or if they actually produced the song. Either way, they were involved. So they continue to have some mainstream, shine in the 2000s. The Prodigy and Chemical Brothers, I don't think really did commercially, but they did continue to make music. I know the frontman from Prodigy passed away a few years ago, so that's a bummer. Obviously, was probably in his 40s or around 50. But yeah, those are the four that really broke through to the mainstream. Now, some people won't like this. I know some people are not going to like this. You got to put Moby in the same... And again, these might have been different scenes, but this is what I was getting to before. So in 1992, No Doubt comes out with a ska record on Interscope Records. When something's going on, the record labels scatter, sign a bunch of bands that are similar. But even when, there's not something going on, when there's some kind of scene building up. So Seattle happened. Soundgarden signed to A&M Records. They put out an album in 89 on A&M Records, their second full length. It didn't do much commercially. They were kind of early. Alice in Chains puts out a record. It actually does get play. The song Rooster was on a 1990 record, a year before Nirvana broke. And they did get some alternative rock play. I mean, not huge, but it was a song on alternative radio. So why'd they sign Soundgarden? Because something was happening. Mother Love Bone got signed in the late 80s. Unfortunately, Andrew Wood passed away before their album came out. But they're, record labels, at least the way it used to work, they would sign because they knew something was happening and it was going to go mainstream and they wanted to be the first to cash in, and a lot of times they're early. No Doubt. They put out a ska record in 1992. They didn't blow up until the very beginning of 96. Their album came out late 95. Just a Girl comes out as a single. And frankly, they changed a lot. That album has a lot of new wave, 80s new wave kind of vibes in it. More than ska, but definitely labeled ska. The Mighty Bosstones had 2 albums on a major label before their 1997 hit, Impression That I Get. And the label would actually give bands a chance to make more than one album. Generally speaking, if the first one, bombed and didn't do anything. The label almost dropped No Doubt because they were touring and 2 people were showing up. And they had a major label album out. Now in California, they had crowds of thousands because that's where that scene originated. But they'd go to, Chicago, New York, Canada, whatever. There'd be like 10 people there or less. And, hopefully the 2 fans that showed up would buy them dinner. You know what I mean? So sometimes even the mainstream, old authorities, old guard are early to the party. Where when they went signing punk bands in the early 90s, Green Day pretty much blew up right away. They didn't have to wait for a second record, right out of the gate. Within 2 months of Dookie coming out, Longview was on MTV. It was on alternative rock radio. And I can't even mention The Offspring because they were on an independent label when they blew up. And And then they signed to a major. And, you had bands like Rancid who were on MTV in 94. They had major, major offers. I think there was a lot of hype that they were going to be like the new Clash. They stayed on an independent label. And then their next album still got play on MTV. They played Saturday Night Live. They were on alternative rock radio. Not